I'm back here today with Dave Wilson, the founder of Green Frog Systems, for another episode of Solar Beyond the Datasheet, where today he's going to flip the script, essentially, and interview me as the CEO, considering he got the grilling last time. We thought it was only fair.
Yeah, that's it. We've got to balance it out.
Totally.
Time to put you in hot seat. So one of the things is, for the audience, that Doug joined us about 3 years ago. And I suppose a little bit of a background story would be, as you know, as the founder of the business, you're growing a business, and I think all those stresses of growing a business fast and multi-country puts a lot of pressure on you that you don't see. And it was some really good mentors in my life that said, hey, you know, it's probably time. And in a polite way, they were like, hey, Dave, you're good at some things, maybe not so good at other things. And, you know, so it was like, okay, now it's time. So through a grilling interview process, you came on board. And so that's 3 years ago, which kind of seems like yesterday. So I think what we wanted to explore in this podcast was, you know, going back to those first couple of days, what you thought, then also 3 years later, what you've learned, what's exciting, what's been challenging. So I think if you're ready, let's jump into it.
Geez, there's lots of questions there.
Yeah, that's it.
For sure. I suppose coming into the business from day one, I think the first time I've come in and had a look around, the thing that really blew me away is the way you guys actually design stuff and the care that actually goes into the design process and what the aspirations were for the business for those products. I think at the time, one of the batteries that we have, the Aspire battery, which I won't go into detail about because that's not for this podcast, but that really impressed me the way everything was thought about, you know, not only from a longevity technology perspective, but also from a customer usability perspective and the impact that it will have in the real world, you know, developing a new piece of technology. You know, it was absolutely evident from the first moment I got here that was forefront of your guys' mind. You know, what real impact are we going to have in the world? How do we design something that's going to last 5, 10, 15 and beyond years, right? And just the quality was like, well, these guys have it together, right? And in terms of the customer base, it was broad, and ironically, it's broadening for us now, 3 years later. But you could actually see that it was having an impact on people's lives. In the last podcast, you had a story about a woman who came up to you to give you a hug about the intersection.
Yeah, Victor Harbour.
Down at Victor Harbour.
Yeah.
And, you know, having that real world impact, it's hard to overlook an opportunity that has that sort of, you know, potential impact in the real world on people's lives directly. I think that's quite rare. You know, there's lots of opportunities where, you know, it could be a feel-good aspect, whether it's retail or, you know, something else like that. But have a piece of infrastructure that wouldn't be there otherwise without what the business was doing at the time is quite incredible. So that was way back when. That was what first impressed me. I thought, wow, this stuff is actually really cool. We didn't know anything about the market back then. And as it turns out, you know, I was quite right. Many of our competitors, in fact, none of our competitors have most of the technology that we have. You know, that's evident now. And, you know, 3 years later, our challenge has become, as it always is, you know, what is the market going to demand in the next 5 or 10 years and try and get ahead of it. Not because of our competitors will get there, it's because that's what our customers will be demanding from us. That's what, you know, the infrastructure projects will be wanting from us. So 3 years on, it's, you know, as much about what we do and the engineering and the technology that we have, but it's now also partnering with others who are also best in class and bringing them on board. So we provide the power, like you said in the last podcast. You see ourselves going into a power generating power company. What else can we power with that? Whether it's lighting manufacturers and we use their luminaires, or camera manufacturers, or Wi-Fi or sensors. We now have some partnerships that we didn't have 3 years ago. We probably didn't even think we'd have 2 years ago. And that's really exciting for me, positioning ourselves as the go-to in the industry for anything solar power.
So let's go back to those first couple of weeks, first couple of months when you started. And I think one of the things that some people would have said, well, Doug didn't have any background in the lighting industry and solar industry, and that huge learning curve that you had. So let's explore that a little bit. And quite quickly, you're able to adapt and learn, and as you said before, understand a totally different market, and technically, the products are probably something you haven't seen before. So, do you want to walk me through that journey of those first couple of weeks and months? What you learn about what is it we do, and also most importantly, what was your first ideas on how to scale? Because that's really what your forte was scaling business.
Sure. The technology was certainly one thing, and I don't claim to understand it day one. And even now there are elements that elude me because that's firmly with R&D and engineering, and they're at the very cutting edge of not only our industry but many industries. So there's a lot of stuff that's done behind the scenes before it comes into the business in any form.
I can remember sometimes when we've sat down with you and tried to explain the technology, I could just see your eyes glazing over sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yes, the first few weeks and few months was certainly a steep learning curve in trying to understand where we actually sat within a broader industry and what the industry demanded of us, where solar sat within that industry and how it was looked upon. And I suppose that was the foundational elements of trying to understand then how to scale the business. Because whilst the business was very dominant in Australia, USA, we have an operation, and growing in other parts of the world, particularly the UK and the Pacific Islands, it's, what are those roadblocks for customers to adopt the technology? Because regardless of what we think our technology can do, there's an adopter phase. And, we're still in the very early adopter phase in some markets. In Australia, we're more along the curve. And in some markets, we're still very emerging cutting edge technology where there's a huge educational process.
Do you think that because we are, Greenfrog is essentially a convergence of emerging technologies?
Sure.
If you look back now, what do you think has been the barriers? Did you really think that people would be adopting it already by now? Because we're 15 years old, and you coming in 3 years ago. Are you surprised by the challenges it is that we have at the education piece and convincing customers to go down a solar path?
Yeah, very much so. I think that was probably one of my biggest eye-opening moments, to be honest. And I think that's made up of many different things. I think the industry would be a lot further along in many respects if a lot of customers and early adopters hadn't tried something and been burnt by it, something that didn't quite work with maybe a very early technology. 15 years ago when you started, the technology is vastly different to what it is today. Whether it's solar panels or control systems or batteries, particularly the batteries, right? And they're, from my perspective, that's probably one of the biggest pieces of technology to advance so quickly, especially with the adoption outside of solar, like with EV cars and battery tech. They had to evolve quite quickly. And because our batteries are now, super cutting edge, and there's other industries also adopting battery technology and storage technology, it does converge, like you say, to adopt faster in the market. But I think with any emerging technology, there's still a resistance, and we still get resistance today because there's not a true understanding of what our products can do and what we're capable of doing. But even for us, that's from a customer's perspective. Internally, we're still evolving as well. Let's go back 2 years ago. 95 watts was our capacity, and now we're pushing 150, 160, 170 watt lighting output. And that's, a twofold increase in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So where are we going to go in the next 2 to 5 years? And then trying to get that across to a customer saying, we can do this reliably. We have more uptime than grid-tied lights. That just blows their mind. So, the more that we grow, and 15 years is, I like to say, the foundational base.
Yeah.
So the next 5 years, I think it will look vastly different in terms of scale and growth and adoption.
Yeah. So 3 years later, what still surprises you about what we do and the industry that we're in? And that surprise can be either a good thing or a bad thing.
I think the surprise, in a good way, is there is more adoption.
Yeah.
There are more well-established companies and organisations willing to look at solar and adopt solar, which wasn't there even 12 months ago in some cases. There is now a look outside of solar lighting in particular to power other devices. And that's surprising because that's something coming into the business 3 years ago I didn't think was going to happen. You can see the potential, but you don't quite think it's going to happen. With the power consumption of devices now going down to, sometimes in the single-digit wattage consumption, and now power storage going up, there's now that convergence again where you can now power multiple technologies. Again, that adoption from a people's mindset is still going to be a challenge. But I think there is more open-mindedness out there, which is really cool. And I think the thing that really surprises me internally is that there is still the same level of care that there was 15 years ago in producing our products. Whereas as companies scale, they typically go to a cheaper product, cheaper materials, try and cut back costs wherever they can. Whereas, we haven't necessarily done that. We've created efficiencies, but we're still maintaining the same quality as we did back then, if not more.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've seen is knowing when to say no.
Yeah.
And that's certainly come evident in the last 3 years was, you can't put solar everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think as the technologies become more and more adopted, people are also now trying to push the envelopes. Can I use this here?
Yeah.
I think from a technology perspective, I look at some of what our competitors are doing, and I look at it and go, there's no way that's going to work.
Yeah.
And with you scaling the business internationally, and that education piece that you're working on, we still have a lot to do with educating the clients about that, and that's pretty exciting. But it's also a big challenge for you, I guess.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, trying to educate a very early adopter stage market, but then different phases depending on the market that you're going into, is a huge challenge. And then you've got your competition from every angle, usually with cheaper products, claiming these big claims that they can do all sorts of things. And from a well-established business, we look outside in going, it's never going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that particular customer is going to have to go through that same cycle as many customers did in Australia 15 years ago, where they've tried something with big claims, it didn't work. And there's this lag period before they want to try the technology again. In so many markets that we're in now, they're going to go through that. Whereas in Australia, it's now well established. In the US, our two biggest markets, it's now well established. They've gone through that, and now they understand what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So the education piece is a lot less.
Yeah.
But now it's about how far can we push the envelope.
Yeah. So before you talked about partnering, and I think it's a good way to talk about the future for Green Frog. So what does partnering look like for you in the next generation and the next phase of growth for Green Frog? And I mean, last week we talked about, as the CTO, where I want to see the technology go.
Yep.
Where do you see us going in the next few years, and how we can use our partnering to get us there?
Sure. I suppose winding back to when you first started 15 years ago, just briefly, the business had to do everything. Had to get batteries, the poles, the engineering work, the solar panel, the luminaire, right? Now I think we're more of the opinion that we concentrate on what we're best at. And this is one of the things about small businesses, right? As they grow, they want to do more and more and more, and there's the potential for more and more distraction. It's the chasing after shiny things.
Yeah.
Right. And fortunately for you, Dave, you're very good at stopping yourself from doing that. As an owner founder, typically that's what you want to do, because that's the next opportunity. And in lies, that entrepreneurial spirit, which a small business needs, and a big business certainly needs, but often loses. So we need to strike that balance. So for us now, the partnering is about doing what we do best, and that's providing power and generating power, and allowing our partners, whether that's, say, another lighting manufacturer who just specialises in lighting, that can do outputs that, push the boundaries, or lighting distributions that push the boundaries, and we can utilise that, and they can utilise us. And there's a lot of good lighting manufacturers around that we can now partner with, and we have partnered with. Same with camera systems, CCTV, AI cameras, Wi-Fi, long-range Wi-Fi, which is actually really cool. So it's those partnerships, and you're really utilising those manufacturers who do that best. It's not try and do everything ourselves. So we concentrate what we're good at, and we partner with those who are exceptional at what they do as well. And in there, we also, maintain each other's reputations. We won't let you down, and vice versa. So that's where I see us going, which is really exciting. And we become kind of this neutral company that can supply everybody, which is where we want to go.
Yeah, fantastic. So along those themes, along this journey that we're taking us, is there been a moment where you've gone, wow, I just did not see that coming?
I think there's been lots of those moments, to be honest. It's hard to pinpoint one. I suppose, we can talk about technology all day, and we have, but it's probably that impact on people's lives and that appreciation. I didn't truly appreciate that coming in. And I think the crowning moment for me was probably last year, being at a conference, a Native American conference. And we just did that big project that was one of the biggest that we've done in the company's history in the US. And we lit up a main road in a residential area, and I had people from that community come up and say, thank you so much for the lights. Because now, all those people that we didn't want in those areas are now gone, because, there is more safety through the lighting, but also means that our kids can come play on the street at night or in the front yard, which I thought was just incredible. Because prior to the lighting going in, they would hide in their homes at night time. As soon as it went dark, they were gone. But now it's actually just brought a sense of community back to that area. And for kids to grow up in that sort of environment, that's honestly, it's priceless.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So a comment you made earlier about that transition from an owner-founder or a small business trying to scale. What was some of the challenges that you had in, I suppose, dealing with an owner-founder? Because this isn't your first rodeo in managing a business with owner-founder. And essentially me stepping aside to allow you to grow the business, which has been fantastic. What have been some of the challenges with that you've had to overcome?
Sure. Coming into any business that effectively is the owner's baby is a challenge, because they have a particular way of doing things, and they have a particular vision of where they want to go.
Yeah.
Not necessarily how to get there, but where they want to go. And being very respectful of that and mindful of that, along with trying to massage their aspirations into that whole thing is probably the biggest challenge. And I think it only really works when the owner not necessarily relinquishes control, but I don't think that ever truly happens.
Yeah.
But it's more an acceptance of somebody else coming in, doing something differently. And also, the word I'm looking for is a readiness to kind of step out of the leadership role, or in this case, a CEO role, into another role where you can have a real impact on the business, which is realistically where an owner's passion truly lies.
Yeah.
I think it's very rare to have an owner whose passion is just to grow a business. There's always a passion around, a product or engineering or development or sales or whatever it is. It's a particular area of the business, not necessarily growing the business. So I think, coming in, you personally were certainly ready to step into the technology CTO role and, focus back on tech, which you love doing, which actually opened the door for me to do what I needed to do and, make the changes that needed to happen effectively.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's also difficult for the owner to make changes that they want to make because they've got so much history with, the business and the people and customers. So there's challenges on both parts.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work if we don't work together,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
And I think it's a good point because it's at some point, like we as a company and as a board decided that for the company to truly scale, I needed to do what I was good at and acknowledge that I can't. There's elements of what I do which are not great, or I'm not really, really good at, and I think that's that point in a lot of small businesses where they either plateau, they still become a mum and dad business or a small to medium business, and I think that was something personally for me with all my mentors, being able to go, okay, Dave, it's time now. Let's find the right person, and I, it is a journey. But I think one of the things that's been really great is you've been able to excel where in the skills that I kind of plateaued at, and it's really exciting to see Green Frog scale now, and I think that's probably one of the things that you brought into the business was a history of scaling.
Sure.
And that being able to work with the founder and with the existing team and then slowly make the changes and then do more radical changes has been really exciting for the business. And I guess with that in mind, where do you see Green Frog going in the next 5 or 10 years?
Aside from global domination?
Totally.
Where I see us going. Our biggest markets are currently Australia, USA, UK, growing through the Pacific Islands and doing little bits and pieces where we can, more opportunistic. I see our real scale, ironically, in those early adopter markets, and certainly not the innovator market where the technology is just starting to be used. But that's going to take a long time to come up the curve because they still need to go through trying and testing products that may or may not work.
Yeah.
Because they can buy them cheaply and with these outrageous claims. So for me, the market here, even in Australia, is still to be developed. We think we've got a big chunk of the market. We think we've scaled to probably where we need to, or where we can get to. But in reality, I don't think we've got that much of the market. So there's still that big education piece, and going through distribution and lighting partners in particular will take us to that next level. So the next 5 years here in Australia is really exciting. But also I think the USA provides us the biggest opportunity at this point in time. That's the biggest market for us. And that one is incredibly difficult, more so than our home base. because effectively you've got 52 different states, you've got shifting geopolitical tensions, you've got shifting regulations, and you've got a model that is, almost 100 years old that we still deal with sort of today. So I think that's the exciting part. There's a lot of challenges in the USA, but also there lies the opportunity as well to allow our business to truly scale. And beyond that, with the USA adopting our technology, the world is your oyster as far as I can see it.
Yeah. And I think that was something, I think we talked about it last time, was the USA business is about 7 to 8 years old. Green Frog's 15. And in those first 7 or 8 years, we were about proving the technology, really. That environmental claims, really, you can, I can build a solar light tomorrow, but is it still going to be working in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, correct.
And I think that's where all that work and the R&D that we do here is important. But in saying that, it's about sticking to what we're good at, right?
Definitely.
In the last podcast, we talked about we just do solar really well.
Yep.
A little bit earlier, you made the comment, sometimes the founders can go off on whims and, go do different things. And I think that stability that we have now, especially in the last 3 years, in sticking what we're actually good at, which is solar, is certainly going to hold us in good stead for the future as well.
And there's certainly some new frontiers for us as well that we'll go down. Partnerships is one thing, and that's really exciting because that opens up much bigger distribution and more projects for us.
Yeah.
But also the other frontiers, cold climate technology, for example. How do you get solar to work in remote places in snow conditions?
Yeah.
That's going to be a huge challenge.
Especially in Australia.
We have so much snow here, right?
It's so much snow.
But I mean, we've got projects now in remote places like Alaska or Minnesota where they get meters of snow a year. And, days without sun. How do you really get a technology to work that cannot even work there?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really exciting next to 5 to 10 years because the battery tech is where it is now. Where's it going to be in 12 months, 5 years' time? I mean, it's anybody's guess. But there's some really exciting stuff that's coming out that I'm sure you'll cover in subsequent podcasts, right?
Yeah.
It's really cool being at the cutting edge of technology.
Let's go back a stage. So we're talking about cutting edge technology. How do you balance reputational risk in that? So we with our partners and our customers, and being 15-year-old company, how do you see reputational risk for a customer?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for us, thankfully, we have a reputation in the market already because we are 15 years old. And we've now got the data over 15 years of what works and what doesn't. And for a customer, they want to know the technology works and, that your light is going to be working morning after morning after morning. Early morning after morning, right? Because often that's when it doesn't work. But that 15 years of reputation gives a customer so much confidence in what we do because there's been so many of companies of solar lighting companies that have come and gone over that time. Even in the last 3 years, a lot have disappeared. Many get absorbed into bigger companies. Many get bought out by companies that don't know solar lighting at all. So the technology just falls to pieces. Whereas that's all we do.
Yeah.
So as a foot in the door and a reputational risk is probably bigger for us because we've got more at stake.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's all we do. And if it doesn't work, that's what the customer will remember us for. So for me, leading the business, I take comfort in the R&D that we do and the partnerships that we have in the manufacturing process because we've tried and tested everything to the nth degree, whereas cold testing, hot testing, vibration, you name it, we've done it. Right? It's not to say that we don't encounter issues. It's when we do encounter issues, we fix it real fast, right? And before it even gets to a customer. So there's a lot of testing at the back end, and that's why our products probably take longer to get to market than others, but also the quality is so much better as well. So our reputational risk is minimised by mitigating the risk through the R&D process effectively.
Yeah, good. Well, any other last comments you want to add?
I think we've covered a lot for this podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully the audience took something away from it.
Yeah. No, it's been absolutely amazing to chat to you, Doug.
Thank you, and it's certainly been a journey, Dave.
Yeah, and look forward to the next 15 years.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, thank
Thank you.